Welcome everyone back to Weekly Weather Updates, and in today's first video we're going to have a look at 2021 in review. Have a look at all of the pressure charts throughout the last 365 days through the GFS analysis. Go through it quite quickly, but we'll be having a look at what specific weather events we had, sort of the highs and the lows of the year. As we head into 2022, I think it's always important to look back at what we saw across the last year, because of course looking at what's happened in past events can help us predict future events a little bit better. So I hope everyone is having a great day. Happy New Year to everyone here, and thanks for everything you did for me in 2021, and I hope to continue the momentum into 2022. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe. And remember to follow on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. Also help me out if you want to by getting the channel membership or buy me a coffee. All those links are in the description. Now this evening, I'll have my latest video. And what's be happening over the next few weeks. Very interesting developments actually came out this morning. We have some models actually going for some significant snow towards the middle of next week. Now I don't want to put too much emphasis on it at this stage because it's only a few models, and of course one of those models is the GFS, which is well known for its backtracking and over modelling of snow, especially at sort of the 5 to 7 day time frame. So we'll have a look at that later, so do stay tuned for that. So you can see at the moment, we'll have a look at the latest from the Met Office CET, which is the mean central England temperature, which basically gives us a way of comparing temperatures each month to average and to past years. It's basically average temperature in central England of day and night. So you can see over the course of the year, it's really quite cold in the winter and then really warm in the summer. It's only provisional to 30th at this stage, but that won't be final. That will only change it maybe subtly, if not at all. Adding on the 31st. Now you can see the year started off really quite cold actually. No exceptional cold spells in January, but we did see some colder spells with snow for quite a few, with the anomaly 0.7 degrees below average with a CT of 3.1. February started bitterly cold as we did have a sudden stratospheric warming in January, which caused us to have some bitterly cold easterly winds to start the month. However, the second half was really quite mild. The anomaly actually came out 1.4 degrees above average. March, another milder than average month, 1.5 degrees above average, and April was bitterly cold, along with May as well, both more than 1 degree below average. April, in fact, was colder than March, which is truly exceptional, and you can see that April was almost as cold as this past December. So the second month of spring this year was colder than the first month of winter. So it just shows you how things really can change. And we can see very cold spring months and very mild winter months. So that's why I keep saying on the videos, don't be too disheartened at this stage with the winter prospects. Even though December has been pretty mild, we can get wintry weather all the way out to April. And we did see some really cold weather throughout April and May. Not widespread snow by any means, but widespread cold, at least in sort of spring level cold, with a lot of frost and snow showers, quite plenty. June was warming up quite significantly, 15.5 degrees, so as the CET, 1.5 above average. July, 1.7 degrees above average, and we did see quite a few thundery spells throughout those months. Some areas, of course, missed out, but it was thundery at times. August was at 0.1, so about average really for August, nothing too extreme. September was by far the warmest month of the year in terms of averages, 15.9 degrees, so warmer than August and June, so second warmest month of the year. September was 2.3 degrees above average, truly exceptional anomaly there. October, warmer than average, 1.5 degrees. November, 0.7 degrees, of course, it finished really quite cold with a mild start. And then December has been 1.6 degrees above average. So, yeah, really quite mild December so far. And we'll have to see how it does play out over the course of the next few weeks into January in 2022. You can see the provisional CET of the whole year has been 0.74. So, by no means is it the warmest we've ever had. And you can see that the highest CET ever recorded was 10.95, and we're nowhere near close to that, as that would be 1.44 higher than normal, and we're only 0.74. And again, you can see the chart here if we zoom in quickly. You can see the average 2021 is no massive warm month, considering what we've had the last 20 or 30 years, but it's not massively cold either. Some of those colder months about a decade ago, some quite chilly months, but you can see the general warming trends. If you go back to 16, 17, 1800s, a lot more colder than average months than milder than average months. I'll be interested to see how these anomalies sort of go over the next few years, because if you look at the bottom of the screen here, these anomalies are to the 1961-1990 mean. And recently, the Met Office have changed their sort of monthly anomalies up until the 2010, which would probably drop these anomalies colder by 0.1 to 3 degrees. As of course, we've had quite a few considerably milder than average months, milder average months and years since 1990. So these anomalies may drop for next year, but we'll have to see, of course, how it does play out. Now, if we do go through the GFS analysis for 2021, so we're going through the upper air temperatures, and you can also see the pressure patterns on here as well, but we'll have a look at the upper air temperatures to give us sort of the temperature profile, and of course we'll be looking at any significant events. And you can see 2021 started off with a pretty chilly northerly wind. By no means was it massively cold, and it actually developed into a bit of an easterly for the first week of January. Now, this was quite a disappointing easterly wind, although it's pretty wintry in terms of synoptics. You can see there's not a lot of cold air available, and if you follow those isobars, they're coming from southeast Europe down towards the Mediterranean, so their origins are actually quite mild, even though they're coming across cold continent in Scandinavia, so cooling down at the upper air level, but towards the surface, still giving temperatures in around 4 or 5 degrees. So by no means was it mild, but it wasn't particularly cold either. Now, beyond that eventually did collapse away, and we saw a bit of a northerly spell. And this is why I say we did have spells of cold weather, but nothing too sustained. And you can see it does move away before we go into more of a flat westerly pattern. And you can see still blocking, trying to build towards Scandinavia, but not quite coming off. Now, if we do continue through to the second half of the month, you can still see generally pretty chilly conditions with a bit of a Greenland block developing, but nothing too crazy. Some snow events there, some colder conditions, but nothing too crazy, with the upper air temperatures only getting down to maybe minus 8 degrees at 850 HPA, and that bitterly cold air to our north never quite getting all the way to the UK. However, as we head through the first week of February, we start to see a bit of a Scandinavian high developing, and this is where we go into those bitterly cold easterly winds. You can see that spreading through for the first to second week of February. Bitterly cold easterly winds, really low dew points, meaning really dry air, and a lot of snow showers. It wasn't as snowy as we'd hoped, mainly in the east, and of course we had Storm Darcy, which produced copious amounts of snow in the far, far southeast, really into parts of Kent and a few parts of East Anglia. Not coming too far inland, as of course you can see it isn't as tight in terms of isobars as we saw with sort of something like the Beast in the east, where we saw a lot more snow showers. And it wasn't a particularly snowy breakdown, it was a very slow breakdown with that block trying to hold on, and of course we saw dew points getting down to sort of minus 15, so really dry air, before westerly winds win out. Now, for the second half of the month, it was really quite mild with southwesterly winds. You can see the wind direction is generally in that southwesterly orientation, with mild sectors and of course colder sectors at the same time, but generally we're all in more of a milder phase. And you can see how this is more of a southwesterly orientation, and what we're going to be seeing probably next week is more of a northwesterly orientation, and that can make very big differences, even though it is only a subtle shift in wind direction. And as we head the end of the month, we're under quite a mild southerly flow with higher pressure. Now, as we head through to March, we do see a brief spell of a little bit of an easterly flow there with high pressure trying to build in, but nothing too crazy. Again, a lot of people did say it was a bit of a teaser winter with a lot of pressure charts that were encouraging, but never quite coming off, except for that week in February, but at the same time then, it wasn't quite as snowy as some would have hoped. Now beyond that, we go into a pretty fresher west-northwesterly phase before again seeing high pressure build up from the south with milder air. Now as we head through to the second half of March, really quite mild. Could have gone colder there with easterly winds, but high pressure not getting quite as far north as it would have needed to. And then as we head through to the first days of April, so the second month of spring, really quite mild to start the month. Really warm. Upper air temperatures getting up to around 10 or 15 degrees at 850 HPA across parts of Europe. But as we head through, you can see blocking develops in the mid-Atlantic, and we go into a bitterly cold northerly spell. One of the coldest air masses we saw all winter came during the first week of April. Now, of course, that spell we saw in early February was bitterly cold. Upper air temperatures getting out to minus 10, minus 12 degrees. But if you saw this pattern in January, it would have been even colder. But because it was April, these upper air temperatures got modified quite significantly before they reached the UK. But we did see upper air temperatures getting to around minus 10, minus 15 degrees at 850 HPA. Really bitterly cold air mass, and as we move through, we stay in colder spells weather with cold air plunging down, really chilly conditions. And again, as I said, if we saw that in a winter month, December, January, February, we would have been in the absolute freezer for about a week there. Really cold, but considering it was spring, warmer sunshine, then temperatures were in the low to mid single digits, really cold at night, and snow showers aplenty. Beyond that, we generally see high pressure building in with a bit of an easterly wind, but nothing too crazy for the middle of April. And of course, those upper air temperatures across the North Pole are really reducing now as we transition to late spring, early summer. And you can see a lot of high pressure dominating. Quite mild conditions in the south, but still quite chilly in the north. And we still see these bouts of northerly flows, even towards early May, really chilly. Even it's pretty much as cold as we're seeing now in terms of upper air temperatures. Again, we saw these blocking patterns in April and May. If we saw these in the winter months, as I said, it would have been really historically cold in terms of just being consistently colder for weeks on end with these blocking patterns. But being spring, those upper air temperatures you can see to the north are really lacking. And as we head through, we still see those colder than average conditions, but eventually we start to see more of a westerly theme. And for the second half of May, things are a little bit milder with more of a southwesterly theme. Still seeing those northerly incursions at times, but you see those upper air temperatures really starting to warm up as we head towards the first week of June, and see really warm upper air temperatures coming in from the south there for the first week of June. Really quite mild, and we generally stay pretty decent conditions. Of course, westerly winds at times bringing more rain and storms, but you can see those really warm temperatures towards southern Europe. And at times, whenever we see those bit of southerly winds pushing up, we see those really warm upper air conditions. You can see that towards the middle of June, really warm just to our east, missing out slightly on that really hot weather. And you can see small little upper troughs dropping into the Bay of Biscay, and those can bring up quite significant thunderstorms for a time. And again, you can see under lower pressure with sort of small troughs, thunderstorms were quite often seen there. Again, they did concentrate in a few locations, but still some areas saw significant thunderstorms. Beyond that, we do see generally quite westerly theme with a lot of low pressure moving in, but as I said, that does bring in thunderstorms and bouts of milder, warmer conditions. And then, as we head towards the middle of July, we see our typical July heatwave with high pressure building in over the top of the country, really warm upper air temperatures, 15 degrees at 850 HPA, widespread high 20s, if not 30 degrees was reached in a few spots. And yeah, really quite warm, and that continued throughout the end of July before we saw a low pressure system run in through the south, through the channel, bringing in thunderstorms and fresher conditions. Beyond that, as we head through into August, we saw a named storm develop in the far southwest. It did give some significant conditions for a period of time. Can't quite remember the name of this storm, but it was a significant storm in terms of really quite localized strong winds and heavy rain for a period of time. And yeah, it was very interesting seeing that the end of July, early August. Now, beyond that, we saw generally quite a lot of westerly winds once again, thunderstorm bouts, and we did see, for a period of time, warmer conditions up from the south. And as we head through to the middle of August, you can see generally things not too exceptional, but nothing too majorly cold at all. As we head forward to the end of August, high pressure tries to build in. But we actually see a bit of an easterly flow, which is pretty chilly and cloudy for a few spots. But as we head towards September, you can see the North Pole is starting to cool down, but we're under high pressure with generally warm conditions up from the south. And you see sort of the first week of September, really warm southerly winds, but of course thunderstorms were seen with that. Beyond that, we go generally once again more westerly for the middle of September. And then as we head towards the second half of September, you start to see cold air develop in the North Atlantic into the Arctic, and that is spinning up low pressure systems, and we're seeing a lot of westerly to northwesterly winds. Quite chilly at times, but we're seeing still a lot of warmer weather towards Europe and at times reaching the UK. Towards the first week of October, you can see a tropical system or ex-hurricane moving through into the North Atlantic, spinning up low pressure systems, bringing milder air in, and you can see we actually see a high pressure system develop for the middle of October, but nothing too crazy before dissipating away. And then we continue with this sort of westerly theme, nothing too crazy, bit of a northerly spell there towards the end of October, and we do continue with a westerly theme, nothing too crazy. Nothing too mild, nothing too massively cold, seeing bouts of northerly winds at times, but nothing too crazy. However, things start to become interesting as we head towards the middle of November, because we end in November really quite cold. Now, if we end November, you can start to see northerly spell coming in towards the last week of November. Quite chilly there. And then we see Storm Arwen move in. Real significant storm there. Heavy snow across northern England and into parts of Scotland. And we saw heavy snow quite widely for a period of time across sort of 27th, 28th, 29th, especially in the north. But it did come down to low-lying areas in the Midlands, and even some areas in southern England saw some snowfall for a time. Now that did move through, and we saw, again, another spout of northerly winds throughout the first week of December, and we saw Storm Bara in there as well, which was a significant storm at the start of December, giving a real significant spell of weather there. You can see it there on the 8th. We did see some snow around with that towards the end, or towards the start of December for a few spots, but generally December has been quite a westerly month. High pressure building in towards mid-month, and we thought there was the potential this retrogressing away and giving us cold northerly winds towards Christmas time, and you can see that bitterly cold air just to our north and northeast, but it never quite made its way towards the UK with milder southwesterly winds winning out. That was real disappointment throughout the Christmas period. Could have gone bitterly cold, but the mild southwesterly winds won out. And we end the month with a real mild south to southwesterly wind. We'll have to see how it plays out over the next few weeks. But I would say, overall, I'd give 2021 a rating of around 4 or 5 out of 10. Not a horrific month. We did see some cold weather, we did see some warm weather, we did see stormy weather, and we did see some snowfall, thunderstorms, stuff like that makes it interesting. But we did see plenty of just annoying high pressure, especially towards the end of the year, which is so stuck in your brain. It's been the most recent event. A lot of just unpleasant high pressure cloudiness, and we've seen a lot of milder conditions when we'd want colder weather, and we've seen cold weather when we want milder conditions, especially in spring. I know some people enjoyed a colder spring, but I'm very much in the attitude where if it's going to be bitterly cold, be bitterly cold December to February. Once we get to March, April time, be nice, warm, sunny, proper spring-like. I kind of want the seasons to sort of stay in their zones, but unfortunately that's not what happens with the weather in this country. But yeah, I'd give it about a 4 or 5 out of 10. Make sure you do comment below what you think, and of course I'll put a poll out, of course, to see what everyone else thinks as well. So yeah, not a bad year in terms of weather, but not a great year. No significant events. Of course, we saw named storms and a very cold spell in February, very cold northerly winds in spring, and warm heat waves in the summer. But nothing to remember significantly, I'd say. Nothing really in this year that in 5-10 years' time we'll be looking back thinking, oh, what a great event. But yeah, potentially maybe something like Storm Arwen with the winds in the northeast with the red warning for wind we could be looking at in maybe 5 or 10 years time, but nothing too else significant in terms of hot prolonged spells, bitterly cold few weeks or months. So yeah, we'll have to see what happens this coming year, 2022. But I'm hoping for some colder weather throughout the early part of this year, and hopefully a better year just generally for the UK. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video later.